Go back to the Zoom. There we go. All right. How you doing this evening? Oh, I didn't let you in. Sorry about that. I thought I let you in already. You was hanging out there in the waiting room. All right. All right. Okay, well, we're ready to get started. I was going to wait to see if somebody else was coming, but doesn't look like, well, I guess they'll be on. If they come, they'll come a little late today. All right. So how you doing today? Is your mic on? Oh, turn your mic on.
There we go. There we go.
There you go. How you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you?
All right. All right. Well, I'm gonna give them a couple more. Well, I'll give them one more minute because it's 5:35.
Right.
Yep. Oh, so how was your day today?
It's been okay. Hot.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had my auntie Bernard, they saying she passing away, but she been in the hospital and they not feeding her or giving her nothing to drink or nothing. So I guess we playing the waiting game.
Yeah. I think the same thing's going. We waiting to see what's happening with our friend Pastor McGee.
Okay.
I don't think he won't be too much longer with us unless the Lord intervenes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we all going at sooner or later.
Right.
Yeah. That's why we got to get right now. Get it right now while we're here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm going to get started. So we'll let them catch up whenever they come in. We'll mash their tomatoes, let them make ketchup. All right, let's have a word of prayer. Father, thank you for your goodness, your kindness, and your mercy. We thank you for your bountiful many blessings. We thank you for how you kept us and watched over us. We ask you to remember those that we've been calling in prayer and all those who are in need of prayer. We ask God to intercede on their behalf, strengthen them, and bless those, even those we know. It's in your will that they pass on. Now we pray that you comfort the families and give them strength. Now bless us now in this time that we've come to share. We ask that you would allow our hearts and minds to become good ground, that we would receive of thy word, and then bring forth good fruit unto good measure. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. All righty. I didn't plan anything tonight. I just want to kind of leave it open so we could discuss any questions or topics anyone might have. But I'm going to start off with some concerns that I have, and that is regarding how do we represent. I think that when we decide we're going to represent God and live for God, I think at that time we should make a concerted effort to do all we can to represent him properly. It's just like, if you're working for a particular company, but it's kind of loud out there, a particular company or, representing an organization, you conduct yourself in a manner that you don't bring embarrassment, or shame on that organization. And it's even when even when we were coming up, my mother used to always tell us, when you go out of this house, you representing this family. You ain't going out, and people not gonna ridicule you. They're gonna talk about your parents. What your parents teaching you. They ain't raised you right. and we need to think about that too. And I tell people all the time, there's some things Paul said, all things are lawful, but all things are not expedient. And what that means is it's not profitable to do something just because you've grown enough to do it. I'm 70. There's a whole lot I could do even as an older man, and probably people would look over and get away with saying, oh, he's just old. But I don't think that's an excuse to bring shame upon what I claim to represent. And I just think we all ought to have some regard, care, and concern about representing our family, representing God, representing organizations you belong to, representing your employment. I mean, you don't just go out. I tell people, like when we're working on customers' houses, because we have a lot of interaction with the people. You can't just do anything. I remember there was a guy working for one of my nephews, and he got a phone call from one of his workers that this guy had just hired. The supervisor called him and said, man, so-and-so down here, man, he's sitting there drinking beers with the customer. He said, where y'all at? Where'd I send y'all today? He drove all the way out there, San Rafael, and pulled up on him. The guy thought like he had done nothing wrong. But there's just certain things you don't do. You're supposed to be working, and you sitting there drinking beers with the client.
Right. Unprofessional.
Yeah, that's very unprofessional. And he told me it wasn't the fact you were drinking a beer. It was the fact that you were drinking a beer on company time while you working, and instead of working, you sitting there socializing with the client. There are just certain things we should never do. And I really think we do the church a disservice when this is why a lot of people got bad.
Is that proper?
The church has a bad rap. Huh?
It's not proper etiquette? Like
no, it's
right.
No, and this is why the church has a bad rap with a lot of people, because the people who's supposed to be representing it are not doing the right thing. I was on a meeting, in a meeting a while back, and I kept listening to them, and they were talking about the program and some of the benefits of the organization, but they kept talking about money. And I said, see, if the church could realize this one thing, if you have more people participating, you don't have to worry about the money. But if all you're doing is talking about money, you won't have many people participating because they're going to be saying all they want is money. All they talk about is money. I understand that it takes money, but money should never be your main focus.
Right.
I don't do this I've been doing this. Oh man, I've been on the air broadcasting since 2008. I've been every day, Monday through Friday, since the pandemic, since April 20, into March 2020. And I don't ever, charge. From time to time, I'll make an announcement if anybody wants to support the ministry, because, I do pay for my broadcast fees because I'm going back on the television. But I tell them, I don't make an amount. I don't, tell them they're required to do this. I just say, if you so desire or feel led, this is how you can contribute. But I remember, think,
go ahead. I remember when I was younger and we used to go to church, and if you had $1, it was $1. If you had a quarter, it was a quarter. You was contributing, and putting something in the basket that they pass around, little whatever you had. Nowadays they make you feel so, it's almost like I got a lot of bills, and then it's almost another whole bill that I can't even afford my own bills. When you go to church, because they have lines they have lines with ATM machines and the $50 line, $100 and up line, and you go to the basket in the front.
Yeah, I call it the auction. I don't call it the offering. I call it the auction. Can I get 100, 50. How many got 50? Anybody got 20? Got 20. Only thing in the auction, they go up. In the church, they start up and go down. Yeah. But, and that's one of those things that we have to really be aware of. And it's okay, to enjoy yourself and all that. But I believe there are some things we should never do, especially in the midst of people we're trying to win over to Christ. It's okay to laugh and all that, but there's a time and a place for that. You shouldn't always be trying to crack a joke or, tease somebody or how we say, used to cap on people.
Right.
And try to embarrass people so you can get a laugh in front of somebody else, or be insensitive to other people's situations. There are times when people make statements that are just hurtful and wrong. And you should never do that when someone is in a hurtful or painful position. Don't ever make a comment about someone's deceased relative. And the other thing is, I remember I was at we were at lunch once with some friend of mine, and he would talk. One of my friends, he was best of friends with a very, very famous church leader. And he went to talking about some stuff about what the man had done when I said, hold on, man. I said, first of all, he's not even here to defend himself. And if you never talked about this when he was living, why would you bring it up now that he's dead? That's very inappropriate. We should never divulge or just talk about people. And even if they're alive, if they're not there to defend themselves, or if it's not, as my mama used to say, if it's none of your business, why are you talking about it?
Right.
But
gossiping.
We have, I mean, yeah, gossiping. And a lot of what Solomon, what we've been studying in Proverbs these last several chapters, it's been talking about that very thing, how you deal with your neighbors and how you talk about people. And, you know, I think we should get back to respect. You know, we used to have respect. People respected each other. Children respected adults. And, you know, everybody respected the elderly. I got on the bus a few weeks ago, and I was shocked at how people wouldn't get up when the old ladies got on the bus. You know, bus crowded. I mean, yeah, I was tired too, but I'm going to get up and give up my seat.
Yeah.
These youngsters sit down, they don't care. And, you know, they'll run to a seat before an elderly person get to it and jump in it. Then look at you funny, like, what you gonna do? We live in I mean, these are some strange times now, in my view. You know,
right. And also another thing is these kids are not they're not being raised with respect at all, because I was a kid having a kid, but I grew up around older people, like, you know, older people where we weren't able to be in grown folks' business. We wasn't sitting there while they talking, and we had to go upstairs to the room. It didn't matter what they was talking about. We didn't know. You couldn't talk back. You sure better not stump, roll your eyes, none of that. Slam a door. Anything could get you in trouble.
No. And half the time, you couldn't even go upstairs. They made you go outside because they didn't want you listening.
Yeah, they didn't want you to hear it. Right.
You locked the door.
What did you say, Devin?
I said lock the door, which is why you were drinking the water hose water.
Yeah, we did that too. We drank water hose water. These kids so soft. These kids so soft nowadays. They can't take nothing. They don't know nothing about drinking no water hose. They gotta have a bottle of water. They.
Oh. Oh Lord.
The water hose water was the best water. It was the coldest water.
And it was flowing too.
Yep.
But yeah,
and you were happy to even get that water hose water. Yep. You didn't complain. And you sure didn't talk back. It had to be at least a year or so ago. I forget where I was. I don't know if it was at a restaurant or at a church conference.
Right.
Anyway, this child was arguing back to their mother. And I'm sitting there listening to this. And why? I don't want to. Why I have to? But no. And I mean, just really having a rebuttal conversation. And I finally spoke up. I said, excuse me, who's the parent here? You know, you shouldn't talk back to your mother that way. And I said, and that's very disrespectful. But they don't care. These kids now will say anything. They'll talk back. And they'll over talk you, get in your conversation. You know, like two adults talking to the kids. Mama, that ain't what you said. You said, boy, if I'd have did that to my mama,
you'd have got back.
Man.
You'd have been getting up off the ground because your block was knocked off.
Me.
Wouldn't have no teeth.
Hey, you would exactly. You wouldn't recognize me. I would look nothing like this because one side of my face would have been permanently distorted.
Still would have had the handprint.
Oh man.
Then just like Granny, every time you sit, you leave my footprint.
That's it. That's it. It's just a matter of, you know, are we really representing? If I'm a preacher, am I really representing God if I'm out in public? And let's say let's say sort of, well, not really, or have a justification, or that someone has really wronged me. Do I really though have the leeway to embarrass what I represent just so I can feel some vindication or feel like I get revenge? No. I still have to carry myself in a certain way because it is expected of me that I don't lose my cool. I may want to, and I look, and they may have really deserved or done something to cause them to deserve me going off, but it isn't the right thing to do.
Right. And I'm learning that right now.
Yeah, and definitely not do it where other people can see me, as they say, being human. And I've seen people do it. You know what their excuse is? Well, I'm just being 100.
I keep it 100.
Yeah, well, what does keep it 100 really mean?
They lying.
Am I being, what'd you say?
They lying.
It's become the new I swear. That's what it's become.
Yeah, like I swear to God. I swear on my mom. I swear on my mom. I swear to God, I keep it 100. Okay, liar.
That's all.
Oh Lord.
So if you start a sentence off like that, you're lying because nobody keeps it 100. That means 100% of the time you tell them the truth every time. No, you lying. You lying.
Just tell it. You ain't got to start off by defending yourself. Just tell the truth.
First of all, try to keep it 20 first.
You say just keep it 20. Start off at 20. Don't even go that high yet. Yeah, because you barely making 5 right now. So yeah, bump up to 20. See if you can work your way up.
Right.
That is too much. That is too much. And you know, there used to be a time where believers took it serious to represent Christ. I mean, people on their job knew they went to church. True story. We had a deacon some years ago, and he died. And I wasn't the pastor of the House of Truth then, my father-in-law was. And some of the neighbors came to the deacon's funeral. And they came because they didn't believe he went to church. They were talking. They didn't say it at the church, but someone was talking at the repast. Say, you didn't know he was no deacon, and no. That's why we came. We couldn't believe he went to church. Y'all, you should have heard how he talked, how he acted. But they were shocked that he was calling himself a church man. Yeah, and they came to the funeral because they didn't believe he really went to church. Now, that's a sad commentary there for somebody. That people only come to your funeral because they can't believe you really went to church. Something ain't right about that. Something ain't right about that. So, you know, we used to be proud to call himself a Christian, to call himself a believer. You know, nowadays it's almost, wow, it's almost an embarrassment sometimes to say you go to church, or because people think the worst of church folks now.
Because it's more about,
this is what they've shown.
And it seems like it's more about money than God.
Well, yeah, especially those, you know, in charge and running the church. And then the few of us who trying to be honest, we can't hardly get nobody to support us enough to just take care of stuff. We finance it out of our own pocket. I know for years, I made up the shortfall for everything. If it wasn't enough for the utilities, I paid them. If something towed up, I had to pay to get it fixed. PA system go out, I go buy a new one. We come in one Sunday, the roof fell in. I spent the $4,200 for the material out of my pocket. Stuff like that, And nobody, and then you have all these other folks, and I used to complain too. I ain't gonna lie. I said, Lord, why you let all these other crooks? They get away, they get blessed. People give them money. They get big money, their appreciation. I don't even have one. And I used to complain. But then I thought about it one day. I said, you know what? They're getting their reward. I'm going to just be satisfied because my bills are paid. I'm not behind on anything. I'm doing okay. I'm living like everybody else. I said, so that isn't the reason why I do what I do. So it really doesn't matter. So when people do bless you, it's a real blessing. But when you got folks that all they do is fundraise, they don't really preach or do ministry. They just fundraise. Everything's about money. And, we got this rally coming up. We got this fund rally. We got this certain kind of I forget what they call it. We used to go out gleaning with the little quarter packs. Go out in the neighborhood and pass out tracts and collect quarters, gleaning. But this was honest stuff back then. Now, folks are standing out on the corner begging for money that don't even need money.
I just think that a lot of people, that roof fund thing, I mean, I understand for some churches that it might be the truth. I've never been to a church that the roof been worked on. You can still go every Sunday. The roof is not being worked on. So, I mean,
we came in one Sunday. We walked in the door and the whole roof was on the floor of the church. The whole roof had caved in.
Then I can understand that, but then if you say you need a roof and there's nothing, nothing is caved in. It's not no break in the church or a movement like you move to another side or do something else. It's nothing, and we still in the same church. Right. I'm paying for this roof fund. What did you pay?
Yeah, well, my cousin, he one day asked his pastor about fixing the pews because he was sitting on a pew and he got a splinter in his pants and it went in his leg. And pastor told him, well, y'all need to raise some money to fix the pew. He said, Pastor, we pay tithe. Pastor told him, man, the tithe is for me. Y'all got to raise money for the church bills.
Oh, wow.
The whole tithe is for him? Like, what's paying the bills?
He was using other offerings, but the tithes went to him. My cousin stopped paying tithes until he left that church. And he wasn't there. I don't think he was there another year before he finally left and went someplace else. He sure told him the tithes are for me. He said, man, you ain't gonna tear up my clothes on these raggedy people.
I went to one of my former pastors' churches when I was still going there in Fresno. They I remember when we actually raised money because the pastor's son, he wanted to remodel certain parts of the church. Now, we ran into some hiccups down the road. There was some people that shouldn't have been hired, nepotism maybe, and some of it was just, a friend of a friend, and it was good one place, and they should have consulted everybody else and said, nah, he's terrible. That type of stuff going on. You would know because you work in that type of industry, but we knew where the money was going. We had meetings because I was there for them, and I was little, but the kids was in the back. But still, we knew what we were there for. And they got together. They did it right. That that was my experience. So I know that there was other people who would get together and nothing would happen afterwards. Like, oh, we're raising this money and nothing happened, nothing changing. Now we knew, I was a kid, I knew stuff could get better and be repaired and be improved upon. The bathroom, something was always messed up in the bathroom, you know. So when it came time to remodel, you know, so I understand that sentiment though, because you go to places and they've been raising money for 10 years and nothing's shown for it.
No fix nothing. Yeah. But I've been to a lot of them. I remember one church, they actually, when they were building their new church, every time they would get to a phase, the pastor would tell them, okay, all right, we getting ready to, we need 52 windows. I have 52 families in the church. I want every family to buy a window. And they brought the money for the window. That next week, windows was going in. He got the windows in, you know, all the sheet I got. Then he said, I got so many lights. I need everybody to give us the buy a light fixer. And they would give up. And, you know, and they did it that when they finished building that church, it was paid for. And I'll tell you the name of the church, White Rose Church of God in Christ in Stockton. Superintendent Peterson built that church. The members gave the money and he paid for it as they built it. And I remember the last thing he needed, what was it? It was a while ago, so it's probably only maybe 3,000 or 5,000 for the central heating system at that time. They're like 40 years ago. But those members, I mean, every time he would ask for the money, they would see exactly what he asked for. It would be there the next week, and it was going in. When they finished that church, they went in there having such a good time. They danced and shouted, praised the Lord, because it was paid. They burnt the mortgage on the church when they moved in it, because they built it as they paid for it. I mean, they paid for it as they built it. Mm-hmm. And it didn't take them long, you know, but you get a lot. Now, there was a lot of that going on. But later on, when those guys started seeing, they had some opportunities, they would just come up with these schemes, these fundraisers, just so they could put some money in their pocket. It's a sad commentary, but that's why I was saying that we have to remember who we represent and what we represent. If I'm representing, you know, God, I'm representing Christ, then I should have some integrity. I should have some ethics, and I should have some morals that I stand on, and I should represent it. Go around being one of the best preachers in the land, but you ain't living nothing. That's not a good representation at all. You know, it's like having a bad president, you know. but they want you to pay taxes. And, you know, like our government, what they do, they waste a lot of money on stuff. Yeah, but they'll come and get you 2 cents late on your taxes. They coming for you. So we have to really start being more cognizant of our representation, and be aware of, be proud. You know, if you're going to call yourself a child of God, live all you know, and what you don't know, learn it so you can live some more. I'm going to be like T. Start at your 20 and work your way up. You know, you might get to 50 later, but don't come in there talking about you keeping it 100 with Jesus, and you lying and cheating and scheming and doing everything you know you shouldn't do. Because we do have a responsibility. And I'm gonna say this. Someone said to me the other day that I wasn't worth dying. And I thought for a moment, and then I responded, because I did say this. None of us who are in our flesh, sinners, you know, we're not worth dying, because he said even our righteousness is as filthy rags. But you know what I said to them? I may not be worth dying. I said, but someone thought I was worth dying for. And they said, who would die for you? I said, Jesus. I may not be worth dying, but somebody thought enough of me that they thought enough to die for me. So I'm thankful. If he thought enough to die for us, we ought to think enough to live for him and represent him. Be honest and truthful. I don't have to put on any airs and, come up with no schemes. All I need to do is to simply live for him. That's all I got to do. I'm not required, to have no grand church. I'm not required to have on a fancy suit or hat. And, I'm not even required to speak so eloquently. All I'm required to do is open my mouth and say what he told me to say and pray that someone is blessed by it and receives it. So I say that and emphasize this. None of us are worth dying, but he thought enough of us that he would die for us. So that's all I have for tonight, y'all. Anybody have any other comments?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you all for coming. I always appreciate it when the faithful few show up because we met the number. We're 2 or 3. So there's 3 of us. So we all right. He's in the midst.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. Well, y'all have a good evening. We'll be back on tomorrow at 5:30 for the round table. And look forward to seeing you all. Always a pleasure to get together with you all and to share. And I hope I said something tonight to bless you. And if nothing else, just take that with you. You may not be worth dying, but somebody thought you were worth dying for. So I pray you God have a good evening. And as always, God loves you and I love you. Not a thing you can do about it. All right, y'all, I'm going to go grab something. And I got 7 o'clock Bible study here at the church.
Yeah, we got prayer coming up. So.
All righty.
Okay,
all right.
Thank you guys.
All right. Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.